Greetings. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks, Sr., your host, and this is Community Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very fortunate this evening to have with us Mr. Anthony Coleman. He's a newly elected, appointed commissioner for the Falls Park District in North Chicago. Tonight, we're going to be talking about community challenges and solutions. Good evening, Commissioner Coleman.
Good evening. Good evening.
We're very happy that you've taken time from your busy schedule to be with us on Community Forum. I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about your personal and professional background. Who is Mr. Coleman?
I'm the fourth generation Coleman. I've
Okay.
been in the community for a while. My grandfather's been in the community. My father's Gerald and Cheryl Coleman. They've been very active in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, like you said, I was appointed to the Falls Park Board commissioner,
Mm-hmm.
committeeman. I was actually elected as a committeeman, and some people don't know what a committeeman, what they quite might do,
Mm-hmm.
but the committeeman is responsible for reaching out to senators and congressmen. We're kind of like the foot soldiers of the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm.
So we form relationships with other Democrats, and we try to help other Democrats get elected. And that's a very important piece because that helps you build relationships for the
The
future.
committeemen are elected too, right?
Yes, I was elected. It happened, rest in heaven, Audrey Nixon, but it was her old committeeman seat that
Okay.
I was elected to, fortunately.
Okay. Yeah, what piqued your interest to get involved in politics?
I didn't go to school. That was not my first love. My first love was real estate. But I had a friend, Darren Hanna,
Oh, yeah.
and he passed away. And I was actually supporting the Hanna family from afar. And that kind of got me involved in going to meetings. And while I was in those meetings, I took a look at the leadership, and I noticed, well, what I saw was it was some areas in leadership that I might be able to help the city with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I got started in politics.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us about leadership. We have, recently we have several people decided that they want to have leadership positions, but not trained to be leaders. But you don't have to be born to excel, right? But you should be trained if you want to be a leader, right?
That's a double-edged sword. and the reason why I say that is because you really don't get experience until you're in that office. And there's a lot of challenges that face different offices that you're really not prepared for until you actually take office. But on the other side of that sword, you do have to look to further your education. You do have to be involved. You do have to want to better yourself, to be a leader. Okay. So do you have to have the credentials? Not necessarily, but you do have to have the potential and the willingness to grow and mature and into a leader. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, one other point I want to make on leadership is that you need a vision for one thing, right? You need a vision. You need negotiating skills. You need financial skills. You need, administrative skills. And if you don't have those, how are you going to lead others?
You can always educate yourself.
Okay.
You can always educate yourself. Me personally, I'll use I in this particular situation, those are all things that you need in business. And because I've had a real estate company and a corporation, I should say, I've acquired a lot of those skill sets that you spoke of. There were some skill sets that I personally didn't have the first few times that I ran. And
Okay.
you pointed that out, of course, on one of these interviews. But like I say, you have to want to improve and you have to get involved. And that's one of the reasons why I ran for the committeeman seat. And that's one of the reasons why I'm taking the time out to learn some of the challenges that Falls Park has. So I am still in the learning process. I don't say that I know it all, but there's a fine balance. You know, sometimes you get that experience and it actually hurts the community because it's kind of the old way of thinking. So sometimes you need a fresh new look at things and you need fresh new ideas. So to a certain extent, you want to be mentored, but you don't necessarily want to duplicate. You want to invent and you want to create new ideas. And that only comes from a fresh look.
Well, tell us about community, not only just North Chicago, but any communities, challenges and solutions.
One of the challenges that we face in our community is understanding that we actually have 7 taxing bodies.
Okay.
And some people like to say 3. They consider Falls Park, the school district, and City Hall. One of the challenges that our community faces is that we tend to believe that there are 3 separate entities, but it's only one city.
Okay.
So all of the entities have to work together to improve the community. And that's a solution, and that's a real solution. You have to have leadership that is willing to get involved with all 3 entities, not so much to step into other people's backyards, but maybe to lend a hand. Maybe there's something that the city can do to help the school district or the school district can do to help Falls Park.
Well, later on in the program, we're going to bring in one of the parents that's going to be talking about, as a matter of fact, the community may know her, Carla Harrington.
Yes.
She's a concerned parent in our city, and she's going to be giving expressions on some of what she feels, what are some of the concern, challenges, and also solutions.
Correct.
So we're going to bring her in as we go ahead into the program.
And before we segue, Mrs. Harrington, one of the things that we must do as leaders in the community is we must listen to the community. We must listen to the concerns of the parents in the community. And we must all sit down at the table and come up with real solutions. But there's only one way to do that, and that starts with listening. And that's one of the reasons why I invited Mrs. Harrington, or she called me and I agreed, is because it's important that we listen to our parents. She has children that have went through the district, and I would consider myself a leader. You would consider yourself a leader. And she is a person with very valuable information, how she feels as a parent. So I think it's important that we just take a minute just to listen to, quote unquote, ordinary people. You know, I'm considered a politician, so they kind of consider me important now. I don't look at it that way, but I think everybody's important. But I think, you know, Mrs. Harrington is extremely, you know, important. Her information and her vision.
Yeah, she is one that the community and the school district can look up to. She has 3 youngsters, and 2 have finished college and 1 is in college now, you know.
Correct.
And but there are problems within the community and also the school system that she could talk about, because she has gone through it.
Yes, and not only has she gone through it, but she's also was on the hiring committee to hire the current principal.
Oh.
So she has an insight on that me and you don't have.
Yeah.
We didn't sit on that hiring committee. We don't know what the school district has requested of our current principal. So she was actually in the room at the time. Not only that, but as a community, there's certain things that we have to do, and there's certain things that we can accept, and there's certain things that we cannot accept. And it's one thing to go to a school board meeting and scream and holler, and sometimes that doesn't get the desired results. And one thing that really impresses me with Mrs. Harrington is not only does she not scream, only does she not scream and holler, but she does it in a professional way. So she leads by example.
Okay, well, at this time, we're going to take a minute here just to bring her in and let her give her expressions.
Absolutely.
Carla, we're introducing you to the Comcast Community Forum community, and we were talking with Anthony Coleman, about community challenges and solutions, and Mr. Coleman felt that it would be best to have someone really involved in it to talk about it. Tell us, first of all, you are a parent of 3 youngsters, and I had mentioned they all finished, well, 2 finished college, and one's a freshman in college now.
Senior at the high school.
A senior in college, okay.
No, she's a senior at the high school.
Senior, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about being a parent.
Whew, my greatest challenge so far. I'm a single parent.
Okay.
I came here because of the military, and
Okay.
it's been hard. But I have to say, North Chicago, the community helped me a lot. I mean, they helped my kids, the school district helped my kids, and the teachers, everybody helped. So I can't sit up here and say the community didn't help me as an individual and help my kids. So I couldn't have done it by myself at all. And I appreciate that. North Chicago is a great place to live. I learned that over the years. But I'm just a little disappointed right now with North Chicago.
What are some of the challenges that parents are facing today that you didn't face when you were involved?
I feel like now we aren't heard. When my kids was coming through, people heard us. People heard me. People heard other parents because we came to the school and we got involved. They allowed us to tell them what was wrong or what we thought was wrong. But now, no one want to listen to us. They act like we don't exist as a parent, and I think that's wrong and disrespectful. And I just want to be heard. And I feel like the community, as a community, we need to come together and we need our voices heard because no one is helping our kids the way they say they are. I feel like our kids have come a long way. The district has always been under-improving. Everybody in the world knows that. Everybody in Lake County know we always been at the bottom. But we just accomplished something really great. We just got our accreditation, meaning the district. We was not accredited, but now we got our accreditation, and no one in the community knows about that.
Right.
And I don't understand that. That's a great accomplishment. That shows that we are meeting or we are above academic requirements, something that North Chicago has never been at before. But once we accomplished that, that should have been on the front page of the newspaper. When the state took over, everybody in Lake County knew about it. But when we do something well, nobody in Lake County knows about it. Why are they hiding it? That's not right. And I feel like everybody's hiding and don't want to be transparent, but I want to know. I want to know why, when we finally get a principal at the high school that wants to be there, that has done a lot for the district in the past 3 years, for the high school rather. Now you want to fire her? Why? We have never had a principal in the past 14 years who truly wanted to stay. We have 9 principals in 14 years. That's not cool. 9 principals in 14 years.
Wow.
No one wants to come here and stay. Once they get here, they see all the work that has to be done in North Chicago High School. They leave. This lady came here and she wanted to stay. As hard as it was, she chose to stay. How can you evaluate what a person has accomplished in 8 months? We have a new school superintendent, Mr. Price, a deputy superintendent, Mr. Hawthorne. How can they evaluate what Ms. Vanessa Woods has done in 8 months? Because they only been here 8 months. Her body of work over the past 3 years is incredible. And they know it is. She has put North Chicago, District 187, back on the map in a positive light. And no one seems to care. And to me, we have a voice as parents. And I get it, Mr. Brooks, and I'm not being disrespectful. And I understand that the mayor and the city and the aldermen, I understand that they can't do anything pertaining to the school district because they don't have jurisdiction to do anything. I get it. However, their presence and their support for their constituents is vital. But no one wants to say anything. But when it comes time for election, aldermen, they have their people knocking on doors and this, that, and the other. But what about coming out and supporting us when we want to stand up for what's right?
What about the school board meetings? Do the parents come out to the meetings to express themselves?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I don't go to the meetings. And the reason why I don't go to the meetings is because they usually don't listen to what we have to say.
At the meetings?
This is my opinion. I can't speak for anyone else. They already know before they come into a meeting what their agenda is. And they basically are telling us what their agenda is. It's not asking us. When they hired Ms. Vanessa Woods, they already knew who they was going to hire, in my opinion. I was fortunate to be on the committee, the hiring committee.
Okay.
So I feel like they already knew who they was going to hire.
Okay.
It was just that they had to put on the facade of they was really interviewing people. This is my opinion, and I could be wrong.
Well, you were on the
right, and I
committee,
knew who they was going to hire anyway. Not to say she wasn't a good hire,
yeah,
because she was an excellent hire. But don't make it seem like the parents really have a say in who get hired. They already knew, but it was a good hire, so they did a good job. But I feel like she's not getting a fair shake because Mr. Price, in my opinion, don't listen to us as parents. They do not listen to us. And I wrote a letter to Mr. Price, and he responded back to me, but in the letter was a lot of gibberish. And he feels like the accreditation, in his letter, basically said the accreditation wasn't that important. How is that not that important? And he wrote this in the letter, and I could give anybody the letter that want to see it. He himself, the superintendent, said North Chicago being accredited was not that important. It was a low bar. His exact words were low bar. How does the superintendent say that about the district that he's running?
Well, how does he get to high bar then if that's the low bar? What's the high bar?
I asked the question in my letter, what do we have to do for the state to release control of the district like Round Lake? When they got to a certain level, the state released them and turned them back over to Round Lake.
Yeah.
I asked that question. He said we wasn't ready. I don't know if we ready or not, but we are on the move because we got our accreditation. But if we are on the move in the right direction, why are you firing the principal? She helped us get on the move. No other principal has ever gotten us our accreditation.
Is that the principal or he or she?
It's a she, Ms. Vanessa Woods.
Yeah,
no other principal has ever gotten us our accreditation.
Okay.
North Chicago has never, and as long as North Chicago and as long as accrediting been in existence, we have never had it. We've always been at the bottom of the line. But now we up, we improve. That's a great accomplishment, Mr. Brooks, but nobody knows about it. Nobody cares about it. But when we play basketball, the whole community come out. When we play Waukegan in football, the whole community out. Where's the community now? Why aren't we outraged that nobody cares about who we bring into our community to teach our kids, to run as principal, to be the superintendent. They just bring anybody in. That's crazy. That's disrespectful. And to me, Mr. Price and Mr. Hawthorne are the most disrespectful people I've ever met. They do not listen, and they do not care. And that's my opinion.
That's very interesting to hear, because I'm wondering if the parents feel that way, is the board room filled with parents, or are they discouraged and don't come?
It's very discouraging to go someplace where people don't listen. It's very discouraging. And I'm not saying everybody on the school board don't care.
Okay.
I don't know the people on the school board. I do not know them at all. But the one person I do know on the school board is the chair, Ms. Dora King. And I know for a fact that she personally cares about the children of North Chicago.
Well,
I've seen her in action. However, at this point in time, the whole school board, I'm disappointed in them because I don't feel like they are standing up for us.
Now,
as
Dora
parents.
King lives in North Chicago, so
yes.
that may be. Now, how about the others? Is the others
I have no idea who they are. I'm going to be completely honest. I have no idea. And I'm not saying that they don't care. I'm not going to say they don't care. I'm just disappointed in them because I feel like the people that they have in place at the district, they don't care.
Oh.
They do not care. And that's how I personally feel. They are very disrespectful. And I'm a parent who writes everything. I write everything down. And everything I do, I write it in a letter form because I want your response in a letter form. And every time they write me back, it comes off as cold and disheartened and disrespectful. And that's not acceptable for the city of North Chicago. But as long as we as parents don't come out, they're going to continue to do what they want to do. And then what do we do?
Well, that's what I was asking about. When do the parents come out and fill the boardroom? And you were stating that they don't come out because
we don't.
They're not listened to.
No, I don't believe we're listened to.
Well, what's the future then you feel of the school district? You mentioned about.
We are on the move. We on the move. We are above minimum across the board. And to me, we're on the rise.
But it's not publicized.
It's never publicized. But when we do bad, everybody know about it. It's on the front page when we do bad. But we've done something good. Them teachers at that high school and in the district, they've done well.
Okay.
We still got a long way to go. But right now, the kids and everybody should be proud of what we accomplished thus far.
Okay, we want to thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Very much. And now I'll take the report back to my wife, Dr. Daisy Brooks, that you're not shy at all. That you brought a good report back to the North Chicago citizens here, and hopefully that something will happen.
Okay.
To improve the situation or get the word out that North Chicago is better than what people think they are.
We are.
Thank you very much. Mr. Coleman, I want to thank you very much for inviting Caller Harrington, to let Lake County know about North Chicago. A lot of good things are happening now. Well, the good and the bad, we'll say. But the good is not promulgated, the Senate and Navy promulgated, so that the people will know. But you proposed to have an educational summit to further let people know just what's going on too, right? To talk about the challenges in the school system.
Correct.
So you want to tell us about the purpose of the summit?
Absolutely. The purpose of the summit is we've got parents that want to be heard.
Okay.
And one of the things that we're not going to let the school district do is we're not going to let the school district and people from outside of our community come into our community and not hear our voices.
Okay.
That is what we're not going to do. So what we're doing is we're calling out all of the leaders in the community, and that's why it's called a summit. We're calling all the leaders out into the community, and then we're going to invite the school district also, and we're all going to sit down at the table, and we're going to come up with some real solutions. And we're gonna address some real problems that are in our district. We're not gonna sugarcoat it. We're not gonna walk around it. We're going to hit the nail right on the head, and we're all gonna sit down and we're gonna move the city forward. That's what's gonna happen. We're gonna do it with the support of our city officials. We're gonna do it with the support of parents, and we're gonna do it as a community. That's how we're gonna get this solved. So on April the 21st, I'm calling all the leaders to the summit so we can sit down and come up with some real solutions to make sure our kids are educated. Our school district right now is at an all-time low. That concerns me. Not just politically, but I have a child that goes there, and I have children that go there, and I have grandchildren that will eventually go there, and it's just not acceptable. And us as a community, we're not going to have it.
So that's, you mentioned about April 21st. Would it be at the school?
No.
The location?
No, the location will be probably at the Park District.
Okay.
We want to make sure that our venue is big enough. We had a smaller venue, but we're increasing the venue now.
It appears to
bigger
me
size.
that the leaders at the school would want to listen and want to hear from the public that they serve.
It depends. It depends on if you have a degree from Stanford
Okay.
and you have all of the answers and you feel that you have came to our community with all of the solutions. So if that's what concerns me. It concerns me that you have a pre-notion and you come to our community and you have a plan and you're going to shove it down the community's throat. Well, there's a problem with that. And the problem is the community, we have a voice and we're going to speak as one. So that's the problem that I see with some of the current administration is they're not willing to listen to the parents. So we're calling a meeting and they're going to listen to us.
So you have a plan designed for the administrators, and you appear to be a great negotiator, and so that's what it's going to take too, to be a
Negotiation,
negotiator.
yes, negotiation between leaders, but not only that, it's going to take some very intelligent people in our community, and we have doctors in our community of education, and we have doctors that have graduated from our community. I have a broad spectrum of skill sets. I don't specialize. I'm not a doctor in education, but we do have doctors in education. We have doctors in education that have went on to the White House to get acknowledged as turnaround educators. And those are the educators that's going to be the brain thrust behind our summit. It's not about me, Mr. Brooks. It's not about Anthony and his brain. It's about the community as a whole uniting and everybody putting their brains into the pot and coming up with some real solutions. It's not a one-man job. It's a community job. And that's where we're going. I'm very happy with the community. I'm happy with the fact that we wanted to do a parade for the kids. School district didn't support. So what do we do as a community? Do we just sit back and just say, okay, the school district doesn't want to do anything for our kids, so it's nothing that we can do? No. What we do as a community is we unite. We get out there, we put our flyers on the gate, we wish our kids well. So I was very excited about the parade, not because so much that it was a success, but we've rarely seen our community come together on their own. And that was very motivating to see that the community stepped up to the plate. There was a mouse issue that was going on in our community. We have reports that they had, I shouldn't even say had, but there were indication of mice in the school. I couldn't get that done by myself. I reached out to the community. They had over 50 to 60 calls coming into the school board. What did the school board do when 50 to 60 parents called the school board? I'll tell you what they did. It's on video. They cleaned the kitchen so that our children, they're working on cleaning the kitchen. They did clean the kitchen, and they're working throughout the district to clean the kitchen because us as a community, we demanded answers.
Okay.
And that's the direction that our community has to go, is as a unit, as one, as unified. That's the direction. I'm simply like the coach. I'm not the best player on the team. I'm not trying to be the your daughter, Mrs. Brooks, wonderful, wonderful educator. I couldn't touch her on the educational court, right? But I can put her together with another doctor, and we can all come down, sit down to the table, and let the school district know what we want them to do as taxpayers in the community.
But tell me though, how is the academic program has improved according to Ms. Harrington? What about the disciplinary problem? Do we still have youngsters being expelled and suspended and so forth?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've got a bigger problem than just expelling our students. We're not teaching them to be leaders. And if we're not teaching our children to be leaders, then that means that our community as a whole is going down the wrong path.
Okay.
And I don't want to be in the community in 20 years from now. We have to educate our children. We have to demand education for our children, and we have to groom them to be future leaders. And if we're not doing that, when the torch passes on, it's going to be a roller coaster ride. We're going to be right back in the same boat that we're in now, with the school district taking over the state because they say that we don't have the leadership to run our own school district.
You know what? In the city of East St. Louis, the school district, they had the same problem there, but they didn't let the state take over.
I'll tell you why. There was two people that fought for the community. You Google it on the News Sun. Two people, me and Jill Janovitz. I'm telling you what I saw with my own eyes. When I went down to St. Louis, me and Jill went down.
East St. Louis.
No, Chicago.
Oh, okay.
There was a meeting with North Chicago and St. Louis, and it was the Illinois School Board of Education meeting where they were talking about taking over the state. The difference between North Chicago and St. Louis,
East St. Louis.
East St. Louis, the reason why they didn't completely take over East St. Louis is because as a community, they had over 1,600 signatures that they did not want the state to be their voice.
Okay.
They came with 100 people that were in the room when at this school board meeting in downtown Chicago.
Okay.
That's why they didn't do that. Us as a community, it was only two people there.
Okay.
And at the time, Dr. Cook says this is a reason why we need to take over your community. It's only two people here. So that was the difference, was community involvement. It's not too late. We can still get involved as a community, and we will get involved as a community. And it's important that we get involved now, not later. In 3 years, the school district is supposed to turn the school district back over to the community.
Okay.
What are we going to do? Are we going to wait to the 3-year mark and then all of a sudden we're going to have a popularity contest on who the school board members are? Or are we as a community going to reach out to the Dr. Brookses and the Dr. Shipley? Are we going to reach out to these educators in the community and say, hey, we need your help. We need your help now. We need to make sure that when the school district leaves, I don't think they're going to leave us with a big bank account. And I don't think they're going to leave us in waves, meaning 2 at a time. My personal belief is they're going to get away and walk away from the table. Now, us as a community, what are we doing as a community? In 3 years, this is supposed to happen. What are we doing? I'll tell you what we're doing. We're holding a summit with all of the educators, all of the parents in the community, and we're all going to sit down and we're all going to come up with some solutions for our children. That's what's going to be done, Mr. Brooks.
Now, you are the chief encourager. Do you have others with you that is vigorous about this change as you are?
The parents, absolutely. The parents, the school board, the Parents That Care board, they know more than I do about the school district. I am nothing more than the spokesman for the organization. At this time, I have turned over my CEO position to Mrs. Coleman, and she will be speaking on my behalf. There's a lot of things that need to be done in the community as far as like Foss Park, community youth programs, community programs. There's a lot of things in the district that can be solved, but I will still be a sitting member on Parents That Care to make sure that the organization is going in the direction that it was designed to go.
It's amazing that people from outside the community want to sit on the board to dictate the educational programs for the city in North Chicago.
That's not the amazing part. The amazing part is the community has allowed it. That's the amazing part. The amazing part is the community has allowed this to happen. Now as a community, we're going to stop it from happening. The same way we were quiet and we allowed it to happen, now we're going to speak up, and we have been speaking up as a community. We've gotten so much support over Facebook, phone calls, things of that nature. I'm very excited about the community coming together for our children. Very excited. Our school district's at all-time low. So I think that's one of the factors that people are seeing is that we have to do something. We can't continue to allow this to happen. Now, within the 3 years, what would I personally like to see Parents That Care do with the school district?
Okay.
We want to work hand in hand with the school district. In 3 years, we'll wish them well, we'll send them flowers, we'll send them on their way, okay? But for the 3 years that they're here, we don't want to fight with the school district. That's not going to get our problem solved. We want the school district to listen to parents like Carla, listen to parents like myself, my wife. Those are the type of things that we want the school district, that we're demanding the school district do. If we're going to give them $195,000 to the superintendent, and we're going to give $155,000 to the deputy superintendent of our hard-earned tax dollars, why wouldn't we put a stipulation on that money? One stipulation is, listen to us. You're making $200,000 and you don't want to listen to the community that's paying your salary? So as a community, we're going to demand answers, and we want to work with you, but if some reason it doesn't work out, we're not going to just sit back on our hands, and we're not going to say, okay, school district doesn't want to work with us. As a community, we're going to make it happen.
Is Dr. Cook still there, the head?
No, it's actually Mr. Meeks, Reverend Meeks.
He's the head of the...
Yes, he is the school board superintendent for the Illinois State Board of Education. And I've reached out to him, and we're planning on sitting down. But here's the problem. Why do we have to go all the way to Reverend Meeks? I called him, he listens, right? Okay. But why do we have to go all the way to Reverend Meeks to get our voice heard as a community? Why?
Well, you went to Reverend Dr. Cook?
No, I didn't go to Dr. Cook. They were having a meeting.
Okay.
And I went there because the meeting was already scheduled.
Okay.
The difference is I've got people like Carla that are calling me saying that my voice isn't being heard. Okay. So now I have to reach out to the superintendent, Mr. Meeks.
Okay.
That's the difference. One was already pre-planned, and the other one I'm reaching out because our voice is not being heard.
I'm sure that Reverend Meeks will listen to you. you bring the package to him, you know,
Yes.
'cause he is,
I'm very confident with Mr. Meeks. I haven't got into the details, but he was very receptive to a conversation, which is important. Before you can solve any problems, you have to have a conversation about the problem. If you don't have and there are a few people that don't quite like the way that I have conversations about problems because they want to sweep it under the rug. But it's not about making the city look bad. It's about discussing the problem and solving the problem, not just screaming about the problem, hollering about the problem. It's let's put the problem on the table, let's diagnose the problem, and let's fix the problem. Now, you might not be a school board member, you might be an alderman, a mayor, or commissioner, but everybody has input. Everybody in the community. If you pay taxes, you have an input and a say-so. Now, if we let them take that right away from us, we have no one to blame but ourselves as a community. But I don't even want to go down that path because I'm very excited about all of the feedback and all of the support that Parents That Care has received.
so you have a positive vision about the future of the schools in North Chicago.
Absolutely.
I should say the leadership of the schools in North Chicago.
I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited about our new board that we're going to have in 3 years. I'm very excited that we're going to have our voice back in 3 years. I'm very excited that us as a community will be able to pick people from our community, and if they don't listen to us, we can vote for somebody else. That's the most important part, is that we have a voice and we have options, and that's coming in 3 years. We've waited 7 years, so now we have 3 more years to go. So I'm really excited about us getting our school district back, and I'm really excited about the guy that's out there that's actually putting the bridges together. There's a guy out there that's working with City Hall. He's working with Falls Park, and he's also working with the school board. And we'll get back to the original point, bridging all 3 boards to work together for one city. One city. That's what it's about. One city. Everybody working together for that one cause.
Now, it appears to me from what you're saying is that if we have the 3 major school districts, taxing bodies, right? We have
7,
Seven?
but people say 3. You got the sanitary district, you got CLC, you
Okay.
got, there's a few other taxing bodies in there, but the major taxing bodies is the school district, the high school, which is the biggest portion of your taxes, which is the high school, and Falls Park. So that's why people tend to say those 3 entities, because that's what they see on their
the
tax
major,
bill.
major.
Yes.
You have the township too, I think.
Yes, you got
Yeah.
the township, Shields or Waukegan Township taxes.
Right.
Yeah, so, yes.
But if we could get the 3 basic ones together, that would be a great savings.
That's a start. We need all 7 together. We need COC to come on board too, because a lot of our children go to COC.
Yeah.
So we need COC to work with our children. We need Shields Township and Waukegan Township to also work with our community. There's a disparity between Shields and Waukegan Township.
Yeah.
I won't go into too much detail, but if you're involved in the community, you know that there's a difference. You know, if you live on one side, you might get your snow shoveled.
Yeah.
If you live on the other side, you might not get your snow shoveled.
Okay.
So we have to work with all the taxing bodies to come together as one city.
Okay, we're well, it's going to take leadership to do this. Now, who's going to take the lead? But it bothers me to think that, well, the state came in probably because the mishandling of funds. The reason they came in to separate to take over the school district is because of transportation monies and others.
I think that's a pretty weak excuse.
But why did they come and take over?
And let me say why that's a weak excuse. people consider me a politician, right?
Okay.
So people say that I know political friends, right?
Okay.
Corruption is everywhere. Corruption just wasn't at our school board. Corruption's
Okay.
throughout our entire city.
Okay.
That is the choice. That is what they decided. And us as a community, we accepted it. That's what happened. But there's corruption throughout every entity through Lake County, some form of corruption, some smaller, some bigger, but there is some form. So I don't use that as a,
But why
I don't
North
use that as an
Chicago then?
excuse. Because as a community, we will allow it to happen.
Okay.
Why not St. Louis? Because St. Louis is going to show up, they're going to sign the petitions, they're going to drive down to Chicago, and they're going to speak up.
East St. Louis.
East St. Louis, I'm sorry.
I keep reminding you about East St. Louis because this is my hometown.
Okay.
I was the first black to graduate from East St. Louis Senior High School in June of 1950.
Okay.
So I couldn't let that go by.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely. So that's why you're still speaking up for the community because you're from East St. Louis, right?
Right.
So yeah, no. As a community, if you were a state and you were trying to take over a community, would you want to take over a community that's going to be in an uproar, get involved, and demand that they have a voice, or would you take over a community that maybe will be more willing to allow you to take over?
I hear what you're saying. I applaud you a great deal because the only way that we got integration in East St. Louis is because we had a Lincoln High School, and then we had East St. Louis Senior High School. And we had a state representative, Cornel Davis. I never will forget him. And Billy Jones was the attorney, the attorney Bill Jones. But Cornel Davis stated on the floor at the House that if East St. Louis didn't integrate their schools, money would be withdrawn from the school district.
Correct.
We integrated the next semester. No problem, no marching or anything. I just happened to be the only second semester senior.
Oh, wow.
That's why I became the first black to graduate. But that's what petitioning and marching will do. Demands will do. This is not the only time it happened in East St. Louis. It happened then in 1950, and it happened just recently about the school district, But North Chicago, there's some reason why they won't. Well, you're doing it now.
Yes, we are absolutely doing it now. I don't want to go back in the past. I don't want to say anything about state senator. There's a couple state reps that we have, and there's a couple. Not saying anything bad about them.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a Democratic committeeman, so I can't say anything bad about them, right?
Okay.
So, but what I am saying is, as a community, we have to hold everyone accountable. I don't care if they belong to this party or that party or what their name is or what their title is. As a community, we have to hold people accountable. And if we hold them accountable, then that's where we get answers and we get solutions to our problems. When we don't hold people accountable, that's when we kind of get looked over or manipulated, or $1.5 million in payroll goes out of our school district every month. So, that's when we start getting things like that going on. So if we get a superintendent that comes in and makes $200,000 with 30 sick days. Okay.
Wow.
So it's actually 34 sick days because it's 20 vacation days and 14 sick days. So,
wow.
We get that. So as a community, that's what we're doing. We're stepping up. We're holding this summit, and it's for all of the leaders. If you agree with me or if you don't agree with me, our mission is still the same, and that's to bring leaders and to educate our future leaders at our school district. That's the mission. It's not if you like Anthony Coleman. It's not if you like Mr. Brooks or Mrs. It's about our children the future generation of leaders. And you want to talk about you spoke about vision. A good leader has a vision past today. A good leader has a vision of generations to come. And I think there's a scripture that relates to that says a wise man will make sure that his grandchildren's children's children are okay. And that's what...
You read the same scripture I do.
Right. That's what a visionary is. So we have to make sure that our grandchildren in North Chicago and their grandchildren are okay. So we've got to get that ball to rolling back in the right direction. So it's more than just fixing the city today. If you're a real visionary and you're a real leader, you look generations down the line. Our generation of education at the school district, no sugarcoating, is not going in the right direction. And I'm excited about giving the school district their walking papers in 3 years and us getting our community back and our board back. And if we don't like our board, vote them out of office. That's what you do. That's your voice. Vote them out of office.
Where there is no vision, people perish.
Absolutely.
And information without revelation,
Absolutely.
So we have to have, you have the
Gotta have the
information
works.
and you have to have revelation too. So you have
Correct.
both, yeah.
And you know what the interesting part is? You say that I have both, but that's only me. You have more information than I have. Your daughter has more information. You've been here longer. That's why I'm inviting you to the summit, is because I need more than the information that's up here. I need the information that you have. You've been blessed to see 80, right? Is 80
85.
years? 85. Oh, okay. So you've got
My wife is 80.
Oh, your wife is 80. Okay. So you have a lot of information that you can pass down to future leaders. So I'm very interested in hearing what some of the other generations, the older generations, have to do. And us even respecting our seniors and teaching our children to respect our seniors.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it from Mr. Anthony Coleman. He's the newly appointed commissioner of the Falls Park District of North Chicago. And we've been talking about the situation in the school district. Hopefully there's going to be some improvement. I say hopefully, but I'm sure there will be some improvement in the educational system in the district. And Mr. Coleman, I have to congratulate you, and I'm just appalled that, I would say this, that God always have a ram in the bush. And you appear to be the ram in the bush that God is using. So thank you very much for sharing that information with our Comcast listening audience, which is approximately 100,000 people, but the information will get out to Kenosha County, Cook County, and as well as Lake County. And valuable information.
And everybody's welcome to the summit. Kenosha County, all of your viewers are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Next time we'll do a part 2 of your Falls Park Commissioner duties.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure your youth development will be just as important there. Yeah.
Yes, I'm just getting started over there at Falls Park. I don't,
Right.
they're helping me out.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Community Forum. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks Sr., your host.